Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Off the Dome Sports Podcast, your favorite sports podcast, where two sports lovers sit and give their hot takes
off the dome.
I am Redfish.
I'm Rebo Hustle.
And we will be steering this ship today without a lovely horse and Mustang that we do not have. However, I feel like we can hold down the fort.
We've done it before.
And we'll do it again. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, or the artist formerly known as Twitter, X, off the _dome pod to keep up with everything that's happening with not only us, but our partners at The Know, at Be in the Know, KNEAUX, the only way to spell it. Make sure to keep up with everything The Know. Make sure to keep up with everything OTD through that platform. Twitter is where we do our best work, so make sure to keep up through that. Tons of podcasts under the Know Network that do a bunch of great stuff, so it's not only us. Make sure to keep up with everything popping over there. Rebo, how we doing?
You know, just mad at coordinators, but all in all, life's great.
Mad at coordinators indeed. We'll start off with the team that
played this week.
That did play this week, who should fire one of their coordinators.
Oh, yeah.
And that is the LSU Fighting Tigers. Shout out to the boys. Got the LSU ring on right now. Ended up beating Georgia State by a significant amount, which everybody thought we would. But the first quarter was kind of ugly.
It's unacceptable. I rarely call for coordinators' heads.
Mm-hmm.
By the end of the first quarter, I texted every group message that I was in, and I said, we need to fire Matt House immediately. Because it's completely unacceptable for Georgia State. Sure, they score 2 touchdowns, whatever. Sure, you have freshman defensive backs. They bust coverage, whatever. That's fine.
Yeah.
But the way Georgia State was driving each of those possessions weren't busted coverage. They weren't big plays. It was 4 yards of cloud of dust football. With a rare 15-yarder, I'm sure. But it was like, if we're talking group of 5 versus power 5 schools, it is unacceptable for a group of 5 school to be driving the football consistently on a power 5 school.
Yeah, like if you see Georgia State scores a touchdown in the first quarter, you're like, oh, there was a blown coverage. Yeah. They got one down the sideline.
We weren't perfectly in scrambling when we had everybody.
Yeah. You think it's one nasty trick play, like something went wrong. However, no. They were methodical. Their quarterback, low-key, was looking great on the first drive, making smart decisions. And then the fact that LSU fans had to be worried in the first quarter of a game against Georgia State.
When it was 14-14, yeah.
Problem.
You just thought there was going to be another Ole Miss game where last person to have the ball wins.
And it was Georgia State.
Yeah.
Problem.
And the root of that problem, I personally believe, is Georgia State watched the film, saw what everyone at Murder Ridge Mansion has seen the entire season.
Hello.
And said, oh, LSU keeps running this blanket shell 15 yards off the ball, and said, hey, what if we throw it now?
Wow.
What if the wide receiver goes and catches the ball at the line of scrimmage? That's 5 yards.
Every time.
And so I don't understand how Mississippi State, who our defense looked amazing against, I don't understand how they didn't see that.
Nope.
Or was it just passed up on the scouting report? Did we play better defense that game? Sure, maybe. But last year, the problem wasn't the defense. Sure, you had better players. Sure, Jay Ward was on the team. Phenomenal athlete.
Yeah.
One of my favorite guys on last year's team.
Mm-hmm.
But things don't just change because of personnel. You can't just be like, oh, we got freshmen, we got to play them off. We can never press. Yeah. Never in my life have I seen a Power 5 school not press.
You seem very...
It's unacceptable.
You seem very agitated, Reese.
I am. I've been holding this in since Saturday night.
Listen, you watched more of the game than I did.
I watched the whole thing.
Which is more than I did. However, I know well enough from everything we've talked about this entire season that DBs playing 8 yards off the ball is not going to win you football games.
Doesn't work.
It And we talked a little bit about it before the pod, but, maybe in the Big 12, it makes sense where everyone's going to score 50 points a game, or the Pac-12 when every quarterback throws for 350. Like, playing that soft shell to try to prevent the big plays, sure.
But you can't do it every snap.
No, and especially not in the SEC where not only can they throw the ball, but they're going to run the ball down your throat too. Like, it's not working. Like, it's simply not working. And I think we have to be self-aware enough to realize, hey, we had a season where playoffs were not necessarily an expectation, but
certainly a possibility.
Something that
you have the best offense in the country. You have a possibility of making the playoff.
Yeah, like the playoffs weren't out of reach. Even after week 1, when we lose to Florida State, playoffs still not out of reach. If we don't lose last second to Ole Miss and
play a better second half against Bama,
we're a 1-loss team that goes to the SEC championship.
Even a 2-loss team, and you're in the conversation.
Yeah, like
they have to talk about it.
Talk about maybe the first 2-loss team ever making if we beat Bama.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're this crappy middle of the road team that we're just fire happy because we're not good. We are good, but we know we can be better. And sometimes you just have to recognize that. And I think that comes down to the Matt House effect. I mean, it just... Listen, I'm also not one who's like, oh, let's immediately fire our coaches, because you have to understand, once you fire a coach, you have to find a new coach that fits your system, fits your culture, will get along with your players, and implement something that makes your makes your team better. So it's not like it's this easy fire coach, hire new when you're better type thing. But it's hard to think you wouldn't get better once you get rid of Matt House.
Yeah, I started this. I've never been like, we need to fire him by halftime before in my entire life, and I was I was taken back by the fact that an LSU defense, the thing that we've prided ourselves on for probably decades now, is the most unacceptable thing in college football.
It's sad to see a school that goes from claiming DBU to the worst secondary
to cover 8 shell every play
we've ever seen. Like, in my life, the worst secondary I've ever seen come out of LSU.
I mean, it's acceptable if we're talking about personnel standpoint. Yeah, we got young guys. The transfer portal was not friendly to us, even though it looked that way in the offseason.
Yep.
But, and we started a new culture with Brian Kelly last year. But just to sit there and play soft shell the whole game, every play for, what are we on, week 11, week 17?
Whatever it is. Some of them weeks.
Yeah, one of them. But, I mean, I just don't understand. And I'm sure, and we talked about before, that Brian Kelly was asked about the defense, or asked about if personnel was going to get moved around, staff personnel was going to get moved around, and he said not now, but in the future it's likely.
Yeah.
Which we all know who he's talking about.
It better not be anybody else. I mean, Mike Denbrock is up for Assistant Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
Or Coordinator of the Year, whatever the award title is. Cortez Hankton is the wide receiver coach, and, I mean, we've got two 1,000-plus yard receivers who are both Louisiana products. I mean,
I don't know
Frank
about
Wilson is doing wonders with the running backs. We have a 5 running back tandem, and they're all good except for, well, John Emery tore his ACL, but he was good before he did that.
You can put,
So anybody on the offense, and then our O-line's up for O-line of the year. So offensively, he's not talking about any of those guys. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's probably not Brad Davis either. So that leaves like 2 people, and it's our secondaries coach and our DC. And I'm going to be honest with you, secondaries coach ain't calling the plays.
That's a fact.
So, getting off our soapbox there.
We'll get on another one shortly.
Oh yeah, we will. We'll keep on the defense, and then we'll get to the offense. We've been having questions about our boy Whit Weeks.
Yeah, I'm glad you went there.
Yeah, we've been having questions about our boy Whit Weeks because we love Whit Weeks. We have this entire season. Rebo Hustle was the first to champion him, and then after week 1, when I started paying attention to the Whit Weeks, I was like, oh, I'm 100% in with you. Like, we'll die together on this hill if we have to. And then the rest of the country started getting in as well because Whit Weeks was a fantastic player. So much to the point that he hasn't played in 3 weeks, and his brother tweeted #free40. And when your brother, who's also on the team, is tweeting #free my brother,
I was terrified.
there's questions. Now, Brian Kelly did come out and say, hey, he has, an injury to his foot. He's had stitches in his foot. We don't want to risk him popping a stitch, being out for the year. So expect him to play big minutes against A&M, which is a great relief. However,
if he
where
doesn't,
is the transparency?
that's fair.
Why did it take 3 weeks for this to come out?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like it's Harold Perkins. It's not like, well, why is Harold Perkins sidelined for 3 straight weeks? Like, if you wanted to play the basketball game of, well, I don't have to give you my whole injury report, and we respect Whit Weeks, but does Texas A&M care? I don't think.
He's a true freshman, isn't he?
Yeah.
Like, true freshman middle linebacker, milk check. Like, I don't think they're really paying attention.
Yeah. And at that, he's not your on the depth chart starter.
Right.
Which, I mean, I guess it's fair that you don't have to disclose that, but it just doesn't make any sense. And from the tweets, I'm sitting here thinking, oh no, he's gonna transfer.
Mm-hmm.
And
Worst case scenario.
we're also in a world where the transfer portal is just like this free real estate, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean,
you don't have to sit out a year. You don't have to do anything. There's no repercussions for transferring 4 times in 4 years.
the only thing that they're doing is making the window shorter of how long you can enter it. Like, it went from, like, you have a 45-day period, and they might have put it down to, 30 or something. And I don't know that for sure.
But I mean, if you're in that situation where you're just benched and you're not told anything, I think you're entering your name the first day.
And especially when you're Whit Weeks, who has all the talent in the world, and people of a university who's ranked in the top 15 right now
Yeah.
are championing you, and the fans love you, and you're getting attention, and then you sit the bench because you have Omar Spates, who might be the worst football player I've ever seen in my entire life, playing in front of you. I hate Omar Spates. Anyway,
If you don't know much about him,
You
he's
should.
LSU's Chase Claypool. He's the perfect build for a linebacker, perfect body, strong as an ox, but I don't think he has a brain.
and apparently the only reason he plays is because he's a good communicator. Apparently not when we're giving up 35 points to Florida and 14 in the first half to Georgia State.
And if you're watching the game, Greg Penn's making all the calls.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it. Whit Weeks is being underutilized. Hopefully he does play big minutes against A&M, because I think if he does,
It's the only thing that saves us.
everybody's going to see that he is a dog.
If he doesn't, I'm even more terrified that he's transferring.
Yeah.
His brother just did it. His brother can tell him what to do, like how the landscape works.
True. I mean, I really hope he doesn't, because I think he's another one in the line of LSU linebackers who are just fantastic. I mean, we really have had some really good linebackers come out of LSU who had sustained success and, very high peaks in the NFL. And I think Whit Weeks is another one who could reach that level if we can keep him. But like you said, transfer portal is basically free agency at this point. So we'll see. Moving on from the defense, out of the negativity, positivity here. Offense is fantastic. 2 Biletnikoff Award finalists, 2 top 8 receivers in the country. We've got the number 4 and number 10 rusher in the SEC, both on our team, and Jaden Daniels and Logan Diggs. Jaden Daniels, obviously the number 1 passer in the SEC, and as of this past weekend, the number 1 favorite for the Heisman Trophy. I think my lowest moment of my entire 22 years of life is cashing out my Jaden Daniels Heisman bet after the Florida State game. I got him at plus 1,800 before the season started, put $25 on it, cashed it out after the Florida State game because I knew I needed my money back, and I didn't want to waste $25. No, I'm an idiot, because I would have made a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like after the Bama loss, what Brian Kelly's goal for the year changed. Like last week, we saw Bo Nix score 8 total touchdowns, and so Brian Kelly was like, well, how do I make sure Jaden gets the Heisman? Because that's my only goal this year is continue chemistry on this team, continue making these freshman corners and all that, building blocks. But my end goal is Jaden Daniels to win the Heisman. And so he kept him in till he scored 8 touchdowns and said, no, you're not going to break the record. Not against Georgia State.
Yeah.
And you're just going to match the touchdown total because that's the only thing Bo Nix can ever have on you is a touchdown total because he has
Nothing else.
70 less passing yards but 900 less rushing yards.
Yeah, and that's on more attempts out of Bo. Like, Bo Nix has more attempts. Now, I will admit, his completion percentage is higher.
I'm sure.
He's at 78% completion, which is great. Jaden's, I think, at 72.
But if Jaden faced a Pac-12 defense every week and was also facing a soft shell, it'd be fine.
Yeah, I mean, and not only that, but if Jaden poured all of his energy from running into passing, he'd probably have 6,000 passing yards
Also
already.
true.
Considering he's the best, not only the best running quarterback in college football, he's one of the best runners in college football. He is quick, he is fast, he is tough, and he can make people miss. Great runner.
Like a baby deer on ice.
Sure.
I know you've seen them crazy legs.
He do have them crazy legs. But no, Jaden Daniels is a very special player. The fact that we may have 2 Heismans in 4 years after not winning one for 50.
Yeah.
Hey, Brian Kelly can't recruit, right? I'm really happy about what the future holds for Jaden Daniels. Not only over this next game and then the bowl game and if he wins the Heisman, but he's more of an NFL prospect now. So we'll be able to see him on the next level, I think. Like we said, Malik Neighbors, BT Cruiser, 2 fantastic players that we're really excited to see what they do. Malik Neighbors is basically top 10 in every NFL draft board at this point because of what he's done. Because you look at a guy who is a great route runner, catches tons of explosive plays, and gets touchdowns out of LSU, and you immediately go to somebody who's viewed as the best wide receiver in the NFL right now in Justin Jefferson. Not that I'm not saying they're the same player, but I'm saying that it's easy to make that comparison. So Malik Neighbors is going to get a ton of talk. So our offense is one that I think people are going to take for granted, and we're going to look back in 2 or 3 years and be like, man, remember when we had all of this going on? If only we had a defense, because that's how we feel right now too. But moving on, it's A&M Hate Week. Get to take the Colt from College Station, and they're coming to Baton Rouge for Jaden Daniels' last home game of his LSU career. And just one last thing before we get on to that you pointed out is like the idea that Brian Kelly is like pushing for Jaden Daniels to get this award. Crazy to me considering what we saw in the beginning of the season where it looked like Brian Kelly almost wanted to bench him at one point because like they had this big tension piece and like it felt like they just weren't getting along. Brian Kelly always looked mad at Jaden, like he didn't know what he was talking about, like just furious, and now he's his biggest supporter. So to see that between your head coach and your quarterback means a lot, I think, for this fan base. So Texas A&M, what's going to happen this weekend?
I have not watched a single snap of A&M football this year, and that's all I have to say.
Well, they don't have a head coach.
This is also true.
They
forgot
fired
about
Jimbo
that.
after they won big. I can't tell you what they did this past weekend. I don't know who they played. I don't know if they won.
Let's do some research.
We can look it up. This is off the dome. This is the definition of off the dome. We don't know, but
they're 7-4.
Okay, it's not terrible. That's the most A&M record I've ever heard in my life.
Ole Miss only beat them by 3.
Well, that's a Lane Kiffin issue.
This past weekend, they beat the socks off of Abilene Christian.
Well, as one would assume.
Bama beat them by 6.
So they're playing some sound ball.
Miami beat them by 15 in week 2.
But as of recently, they've been playing some good football.
And Tennessee beat them by 7. In the last month, Tennessee beat them by 7. They beat South Carolina by 13. Ole Miss beat them by 3. They beat the brakes off of Mississippi State because why not?
Yeah.
They beat the brakes off of Abilene Christian.
Okay. So they're in a similar position as LSU. Lost to a good program and then beat everybody else.
Yeah, if you want to call Tennessee a good program.
I was talking about Ole Miss. Tennessee's, they're not as good this year as they were last year. But LSU has to win this, right? You would think.
I think it destroys everything if they lose.
That's what I think too. I think every single thing over this season is worthless if we don't win this game. It sounds so stupid, but the difference between a 3-loss team with a Heisman winning quarterback versus a 4-loss team with a roster that's leaving feels so different.
Yeah, I mean, if we lose this game, I don't think it's going to be a shootout. There's no way that we lose another shootout.
I don't think A&M has the offense for a shootout. I think the only way we lose this game is if somehow our offense doesn't do what it's been doing.
And if that's the case, you're not walking away with a Heisman.
Or a Biletnikoff. Because a Rome Odunze will come out of nowhere. Or Malik Harrison out of
Keon
Coleman. Marvin Harrison as well.
The kid from Missouri.
Burton.
Yeah. That's all I got.
So, yeah, I mean, this LSU offense, if they do what they've been doing recently, I don't see it as too much of a problem. I don't think it'll be as high scoring of a game because A&M has been able to keep it close with these other teams. So, I'll still take the Tigers to win. We've talked about them for 23 minutes so far, so I think we can move on after this. I'll go ahead and drop us our score prediction, and we'll finish up on LSU here. I'll go LSU 30. Bless you. LSU 35. Texas A&M 23.
Well, I've got zero faith in the Matt House defense.
Okay.
So I'll one-up you with LSU score of 38
Okay.
to 33.
Wow. Close game.
Yeah, because I'm doubting that we can keep them out of field goal range ever.
Fair enough. I'm hoping we can just control the ball enough to be able to keep them.
One can only hope.
I don't know. Anyway, moving on to a team that I am representing on my wonderful hoodie here. The New Orleans Saints had a bye week this past weekend. So, unfortunately, we didn't have to have more heart palpitations.
Because Lord knows every time.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure we lost to the bye week as well. Or maybe tied. I don't remember. But coming off a bye week, we do still have some injuries. Marshawn is expected to be out for the next week or two. Michael Thomas, once again, got in bed with his best friend. Injured reserve. So they're back in cahoots, as one would expect. He was having an okay year. He wasn't terrible, but he was consistent. I mean, it felt like every game Michael Thomas had 4 catches for 50 yards.
Yeah.
Which, good enough for me, I guess. Derek Carr still in concussion protocol, so that's something that we have to monitor. May have to ride and die with Jabu. And then Kendre Miller and Isaiah Foskey, our second and third round picks, also questionable. So we've got young players who are hurt. We've got veterans and stars who are hurt. And then we've got our quarterback. So what do we make out of this next game coming up?
Well, it's definitely going to be a tough defense to face. It's definitely kind of scary after seeing the passes that Jameis Winston loves to make when he comes off the bench.
Oh, boy, but every time that ball goes in the air, you're on the edge of your seat.
Not every time.
What?
The pick last week, or week before, however long ago it was, the bye week, week before the bye week, he threw one straight at the ceiling, and it got picked.
But hey, when it goes straight up, are you not on the edge of your seat waiting to see what happens?
I'm waiting to see it housed for a pick six because there's just no way. But
he threw 2 touchdowns.
But we've seen Jameis Winston the starter in the past. I think if you give him a clean slate, he knows he's starting. He's going to do some extra film work. We've seen it work in the past. We all fell in love with 2021, and then he got hurt.
If he doesn't tear his ACL,
it's his best season ever.
he went 5-2 as a starter.
It's his best season.
He was having a great season. I think he had like 14 touchdowns to only 3 picks. Was 5-2. I mean, Jameis was looking fantastic that first year. Then he gets his ACL torn in half by Devin White.
I saw it happen live.
Yeah, and then hasn't gotten back to his glory yet.
Which, if that guy shows up on Sunday, I'm not worried about Atlanta's defense.
No, if he shows up on Sunday, I'm not worried at all.
Yeah,
because on the other side of the ball, you have Desmond Ridder starting.
Is he starting? I know
They
Taylor
benched
Heineke. Oh, they benched him. They
said
Heineke after
they
benching Ridder.
benched Ridder 2 weeks ago. Started Heineke and then said, "You know what?
We were wrong."
Arthur Smith came out and was like, "I shaved my mustache. I lost all of my faith in Taylor Heineke. Desmond Ridder, your backup." So,
Yikes.
I don't know what's going on in Atlanta. They don't use Bijan Robinson. Tyler Algier gets like 17 carries a game. Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke is the quarterback battle of the century. And their number one receiver is like, can't even tell you. Mac Hollins?
Me either. I wanted to say Trey Palmer, but that's the Bucks.
Oh, it's Drake London.
Who actually been pretty decent.
He was hurt for a little bit, and I'm pretty sure Mac Hollins was getting all the snaps. And then they have a tight end controversy between Kyle Pitts and Jonnu Smith. So I'm not necessarily worried about what is Atlanta's offense going to do to our defense. Although our defense has had some down games the past few times, I feel like this bye week is going to help them recalibrate. Paulson and Debo's.
I believe Monday started with a players-only meeting.
Did it?
I believe so.
All
I believe I read that.
I'm in. Paulson Adebo has had an all-pro level season, starting outside opposite of Marshawn. Alontae Taylor has had really good games and really bad games, so we'll see what we do there. Tyrann and Marcus May at the safety positions haven't been good or bad.
Jordan Dowden's been pretty decent.
Jordan Howden has been really good.
Yeah, for the draft capital, he's been really good.
Yeah, DeMario's still DeMario. Pete Werner, when he's healthy, great player. And our D-line has been very surprising for me.
Granderson's been amazing.
Carl Granderson has been earning every single cent that he got paid this offseason or early in the season. So I'm not worried about our defense.
I'm starting to think I'm not worried about this game.
I'm worried because it's a divisional game. It always scares me against Atlanta. I'd rather go 2-4 in the division and beat Atlanta both times than
go 4-2 and lose
in general. Then go 4-2 and lose both to Atlanta. I would actually rather go 2-4 than 4-2, as long as Atlanta's our 2.
Okay.
That's kind of how I feel about that. But I do believe that we can win this game coming off a bye week. I do.
I think the players only meeting, which was led by the defense, is what I've heard, because evidently they can't get right.
Oh, I'd lead it if I was the defense too. I wouldn't want a single person on offense to start talking. Well, they don't know what they're talking about.
Well, I'm saying because the beginning of the year they were amazing.
Yep.
And then they've slowly tapered off since the shutout.
Yep.
And I think the players only meeting was about the defense, because you can't do much about the offense if your starting quarterback's not in the room.
Also, last point before we finish up on the Saints. If we're going to talk about coordinators, we got to talk about Pete
Carmichael.
Is he another guy that should lose his job midseason?
He can lose his job on the second snap of the game.
Why not the first?
Because the first is the kickoff.
That's not a snap, though.
Okay. Because the first, it'll be, oh, well, Pete Carmichael and Jameis has worked in the past.
I don't want to hear that.
And then we're going to run 4 verts the first play of the game.
Jameis is going to throw one right into the hands of Jesse Bates.
Jameis is going to hit the goalpost from the opposite 20. And Dennis is just going to lean over and just go back to the locker room, sir.
Dennis isn't that smart. If he was that
My
smart,
bad.
Gale.
Gale is going to march down from the box, walk straight through the crowd, jump the fence, still have the skeleton Mardi Gras beads on, and her and B.I. are going to escort Pete Carmichael back to the locker room.
B.I. ain't going to be able to see. That boy's eyes squinty as hell. But that would be hilarious. No, I think, listen, if Matt Canada got fired, if the Steelers can suck up their pride of never firing a coordinator during the season, in the history of the most storied franchise in the NFL, if that franchise can fire a coordinator mid-season and Mike Tomlin can be like, hey, hand up, I did it, that's on me, whether you're happy or not, I'm the one, I'm responsible. If the Steelers can do that, what are we waiting for? Because it's frickin' Pete Carmichael.
As far as I know, the Steelers' problem isn't always the play calling.
I mean, it's not
They're mid-rebuild.
And you know what the thing about the Steelers is the Steelers have this play calling problem. They fire their coordinator. They're still 6-4 and third in their division.
Yeah.
The Saints are number 1 in their division. They're 5-5.
Yeah.
And play calling is the issue. I mean, listen, if Matt House and Pete Carmichael were the DC and OC of a team, that team would lose every single game 80-3.
They go 0-82 in the NBA.
Well, yeah, because they're not basketball coaches; they're football coaches, Reese.
Well, hear me out.
All right, I'm listening.
The NFL's going to change. They'll just extend to 82 games.
All right.
We'll have a game. We'll have back-to-back NFL games.
Imagine a doubleheader football game.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you think people are getting injured now? Just wait until they play a doubleheader on a Sunday. No, yeah, I mean Pete Markeichel.
Pete Markeichel.
He's got to go, man. We'll see what happens this week. Hopefully, here's what I'm hoping happens. I'm hoping they play it smart with Derek Carr, and they let him sit a week. Because not only is he in concussion protocol, but his shoulder looked to be messed up again anyway. So let him sit a week. Let him make sure he's healthy. Let him talk to Jameis in his ear. Jameis won't listen to a word he says. However, Jameis gets the ball to Chris Olave. Chris Olave had 1 target in the first half of that Vikings game. Jameis Winston comes in. He has 7 catches and a touchdown. Jameis gets the ball to Chris Olave. Jameis throwing the ball deep downfield opens up the run for Alvin Kamara. So I'm hoping what happens is Derek Carr sits back a week, gets healthy, gets his rest. Jameis comes in, leads us to a win where Pete Carmichael's allowed to, open up the playbook a little bit, and he doesn't feel like he has to whatever he does, because I don't really know what he does at this point. I think he just sucks his thumb and hopes something works. But grand scheme, defense steps up. J-Boo shows he's one of the best backup quarterbacks in the league. Wins us a game in Atlanta. And then we sail into the next week 6-5, top of the division. That is my dream scenario for this weekend.
It's fair. I think, yeah, you made a great point. Pete Carmichael's going to stare at the 8-page long play sheet that Sean Payton left him and just close his eyes and play any, mini, mo, and some of them will hit, some of them won't, and that's how the season's gone so far. But I do believe that we come out with a win, with my score prediction being 28-7.
28-7?
With a pick six.
Who's getting the pick six?
You can't say that.
Oh, okay.
That's too much to predict.
Oh, okay. My bad.
You can just say a pick six.
My bad.
Nobody will call you out.
Oh, okay.
But if you say a Paulson Adebo pick six and Tyrann Mathieu does it again, you're wrong.
You're right. Way to think, Reap. Score prediction, give me 24-16. New Orleans wins. 24-16.
All right. Back to the NBA.
The Skeletons.
The Skeletons have proved that their most valuable player is Herb Jones. Because we went I don't know if it was 4 or 5 games without him. We lost all 4 or 5 games of those.
Yep.
He comes back after a back-to-back, I believe it was. A doubleheader against the Dallas Mavericks where we got the crap beat out of us in the first game.
Mm-hmm.
And then he comes back, plays the best help defense I've seen in my entire life. And it also happens to be one of the play-in games. And not play-in games, in-season tournament games.
Yep.
And we win by 30.
Yeah. I mean,
It was a squash match, both sides.
I'm not going to argue you because I've got a Herb Jones jersey in the mail. So I'm a Herb guy. I think, and when Luka Doncic, who is top 3 offensive player in the league, whether it be scoring, passing, rebounding, whatever it is, Luka's the point guard version of Jokic at this point. Like when Luka Doncic is being like, yeah, he is somebody who you have to circle. Like, you know, going into the game that you have to pay attention to this guy when he's defending. That is a high level of respect that other players have in the league for Herb Jones. And then not only that, but having Herb Jones in the lineup just solidifies bench role versus starter role, in my opinion. Like, you don't have to have these guys who are normally coming off the bench trying to fill a role that just isn't them. And we didn't have that guy. We didn't have, with Hawk having to start all those games, or moving around Dyson, and didn't we have a game where Jeremiah Robinson Earl started?
No, he came off the bench against Houston. But,
okay, but still, like the fact that you didn't have that defender piece in the first unit where you could get your scorer off the bench, the fact that the lineups were messed up like that, I think that was throwing us off. And now Herb Jones is back. He solidifies his role as a top 5 defender in the NBA, off ball or on ball, in my opinion. He is that good. And we win 3 out of the next 4 games, including one loss that was by a singular point.
Yeah. I mean, just if you look at the 2-game series against the Mavericks, first game, Herb Jones-less. Kyrie scores 31. Luka scores 30. Second game, 2 nights later, Herb Jones is back. Dyson's still playing the on-ball defender. Luka scores 16. Kyrie scores 17.
We cut both their points in half almost.
Yes.
Like, that's how you win
It's a 14-point difference.
That's how you win a game.
The 2 best players on the other team scored 14 less points each.
And we won by how much?
We won by 21, and we lost by 12.
You win by 21, you cut out 28 points out of that lineup.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Wow. Who would have thought?
But also, to second the defense, we've seen the rise of Dyson Daniels in the past couple weeks as one of the best on-ball defenders in the league. He leads the league in deflections.
There we go.
Whereas,
that's a stat.
Which I personally love the fact that, I hate that CJ's hurt. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm loving the fact that we've gone with Dyson as the substitute in the starting lineup compared to a Hawk or another scorer like that, because now Herb Jones gets to lurk. Herb Jones is one of the best defenders in the league. We all know that. But if he doesn't have to guard the best guy on the other team, like the best guard on the other team, he has the right to step away from a big who's standing on the 3-point line and come help. And that's been huge. Also, in the win against the Nuggets, Zion finally said, "I had enough. Y'all don't have a big that can stop me," and put on a performance of a lifetime in the first half against the Nuggets. Put up 21 points in the first quarter, I believe.
Wow.
And then he sat out the next night in the 1-point loss to the Timberwolves where we could have won it. Not to blame BI, but if y'all missed the game, he missed a free throw in clutch time. Cat hit a tough shot against Dyson, and then BI missed a tough shot. It's basketball. It's how it happens.
Yeah.
Nothing against BI. He's the best player on our team for a reason. He's the guy who needs the ball in those moments.
Yeah.
But he's 26 or 27, however old
He's
he
26, yeah.
and it's a learning moment for him. I'm sure he didn't like losing the game for us, but it happens. And then,
Well, also in that moment, you have to realize is like, if CJ and Zion are in the lineup, that's 3 guys they have to account for to take the last shot. When it's just BI,
yeah,
they know BI's taking that last shot.
and he still got an open shot. I mean, it rimmed in and out, but he still got an open shot. And then last night, me and you watched the game. We kind of thought that we've had the Kings number last year, even when the Kings were good. And the Kings are still good this year.
Boy, oh boy,
and
did we have it this year.
still have their number, especially in the Smoothie King Center.
I mean, there was a point where we were watching 3 different things at one time.
We always do.
Which, obviously, I mean, it's a Monday night. You're going to watch basketball, you're going to watch football, and you're going to watch wrestling.
Yeah.
That's the big 3
only
on Monday
3
night.
things to do on Monday night.
So you're watching the Pels on your phone. I'm watching wrestling on my phone. We have football on the TV. And I looked away and started watching the football game or watched a match on wrestling. And then I looked back, and we went from up 12 to up 35. And I was like, what just happened?
I think my stream lagged for like a second, and we went up 10, and then 10 more.
And the best part is we are without CJ, Trey, and Larry. And CJ and Larry were full participants in practice today. And Trey is at the point where he's doing pregame warm-ups. So he'll probably be back within the next 2 weeks.
And Jose played his first game last night.
Jose played his first game. Crowd was loving it. He is back. He is Jose. He almost had a Grand Theft Alvarado moment.
Yep, and
the
Mike Brown saw it and called it timeout.
Yep, I mean, good for him, I guess. But we're getting to that point that we talked about 2 weeks ago, where it's like, everybody sit back, wait. When the Pels get healthy, we'll like what we see. The Pels are getting healthy. We like what we see.
The craziest thing is the Pels weren't healthy, and we found 2 guys that can't miss minutes now.
And that's true, because as much as I've hated on Dyson, he is necessary to this team.
Yeah,
he has to be in the rotation when everybody's healthy. He simply does. Like
he's your bench defender.
Before the season started, I was on the box of Dyson's the guy left out when you play a 10-man rotation, because we have 11 guys who can play. You leave Dyson out. Now you can't leave him out, because he is our best bench defender, and you have to have somebody who can play defense off the bench.
Yeah, and there's that, and then there's like, I think that Willie's going to solve the Matt Ryan, Najee Marshall dynamic of like matchup based. Like, what do we need? Do we need some grit? Do we need a little bit of ball handling, or do we just need a guy who can stand in the corner and hit the 3?
I think, that does matter. Like, if we're playing a high-powered offense, you throw Matt Ryan in there and you let him match the points. Or if we're playing a team who likes to grit and grind, like we're playing a Memphis, or if we're playing like Memphis, or we're playing
Detroit,
like a team who's going to try to bully you
and slow the ball down.
Ball down. You throw in Najee Marshall, and you play the matchup that way, and you end up seeing what happens for your team. So I think the Pels are on their way up for sure, based off what we've seen recently. Really excited to see where we keep going to. If we can sustain this level of play, and then just add in CJ, who can get you 18, Trey, who can get you 15, Larry, who's going to play some pretty good rim protection and throw in some rebounds and a few points here and there. I mean, you're looking at a team who can finish as a top 4 seed.
Oh, I mean, yeah. You add 18 more points on top of what was the score last night? 131.
Yeah, I mean, we're scoring the most points in the league.
Yeah.
Now, of course, some players' points are going to go down to open up opportunities for Trey and CJ, but I mean, fully healthy, it's not beyond belief to think this team can average 125, 128 points.
Right at 120 wins you every game this year, I believe.
Yeah, so I think things are looking up for the Pels. We need to stop being so negative all the time. I know it's so easy to be negative when all we have is like this feeling of one more step. We're almost there. And my last part about the Pels before I let you can say your last thing is, I think the one piece we were missing finally came to us in the offseason, and it was a player. It was James Borrego. as much as you have been.
He did not.
Yeah, like you have been the guy who's been like, James Borrego is going to fix his team. And I was like, yeah, okay. I love James Borrego. He was a head coach at one point, and he's a fun, like, I think he's a really good coach, and he creates some fun offense, and he's able to create movement and pace. I don't know if he's going to fix a team, but he took over as head coach for one night. We won, and then we've kind of kept that same offensive strategy going since he was able to implement his system like that, and we've been playing really well. So props to you. And thank you to James Borrego for helping out this offense find their rhythm.
Willie's a great player manager and finds ways to. Last year, found ways to get by on offense, but had a very solid defense, and that's what my takeaway at the end of the season was, hey, what are we going to do about the offense? And then, I was listening to Christian Clark's podcast, and he was like, hey, James Borrego's in the conversation. And I was like, what an assistant head coach. Like, a guy that can implement an offense, get these players moving. I'm thoroughly excited to see Trey Murphy in the James Borrego offense because it opens up threes, off-ball screens, all this other things. And but my biggest takeaway and looking forward is we're getting healthy in December. Also, December looks like the easiest schedule that we'll have all year.
Yeah. We have a 12-game stretch where almost every single game is winnable. We're going to get into the bets in a second, like we always do, but we'll go over this 12-game stretch first. So the entire month of December, this is how it goes. Spurs, Bulls, Timberwolves, Wizards, Hornets, Spurs again, Grizzlies, Cavs, Rockets, Grizzlies again, Jazz, Lakers.
Currently, the Timberwolves are the number one team in the West. They have 10 wins. And then the closest amount of wins in that stretch in December is the Lakers at 8.
Yeah.
The Pelicans have 7, and they have not been healthy. Lakers have 8 and been healthy.
Grizzlies have been terrible. Spurs, not that great. Bulls, kind of just the Bulls. Just a middling team that isn't, they're inconsistent. Wizards aren't great with Jordan Poole heading that lineup. And the Rockets,
2-11 currently.
The Rockets and Jazz are both kind of in the bottom tier of the West. So,
I mean, you really have 4 challenges. You have the Lakers, you have the Grizzlies with, I think, Ja back, and the Cavs and the Timberwolves.
It's a 12-game stretch where you should win at least 8 of them.
Where you only have to worry about 4 games.
You should win at least 8.
Yeah.
And that's if you lose the 4 games that you're playing a team at the same level as you.
Yeah.
So, if we come out 8-4 after December, that'll put us at, 15-11?
Only one back-to-back in that stretch as well.
What would the record be if we win 8 games of the next 12? So 8-4 over the next 12.
We've got 2 more games, and we got 3 more games in November.
And before that 12-game stretch.
Yeah, we got Jazz, Sixers.
What's our record right now?
7-7.
So I mean, if we
we got 5 more games. I'm sorry.
Oh,
we got Kings, Clippers, Jazz, Sixers.
So let's say we win, 3 of those games.
Makes us 10, and so it would be 18 and
12, 18-13.
Yeah, something like that.
And that
a 4 seed in the West.
That puts us right in the 4 to 6 range in the West. So this Pels team, man, there's a lot of negativity at all times because we, the plus minus with Zion and Brandon Ingram on the court at the same time is not what you want out of your two.
Also not a basketball city. You don't know what you're talking
let
about.
me hear it. I don't want to hear the plus minus with Zion and Brandon Ingram on the court versus one of them on the court versus one of them off the court. Shut up. If we're winning games, we're winning games.
Yeah.
Ugh.
All right.
Off that soapbox, into the bets. Starting off with Mustang, he went 2-4 this past weekend. Did you see your record for this past weekend, Rebo?
I'm pretty sure I missed them all.
Okay, cool.
Actually, no, I didn't. I didn't bet this weekend because I was off.
You didn't because it was just Mustang and I on the last thing. I went 3 for 4.
Dinner.
Shout out birthday dinner. I went 3 for 4, so I am still the champion. We forgot to bring the belt.
You didn't go 4 for 4, so it doesn't count.
But it doesn't count. So we'll go into bets this weekend. We'll cover Mustangs first since he is currently not here. He did send it in the chat like he said he would. So he went with 4 NFL bets. as did I. So we'll see mine. But his Miami Dolphins versus the New York Jets. He went the Miami money line.
Of course
that
he did.
Feels pretty good. And then the over-under's at 41. What do you think he took?
The over.
He took the over. I don't love that.
Yeah.
I don't think the Jets can score more than 10 points.
And I don't think Miami can
and
score.
Miami's not going to score 30 plus on that Jets defense. I'm going to take the under on that game. However, if he listened to his dad, may have helped him out. And then he went with one that I also went with in my bet, and that's the Detroit Lions minus 7.5 versus Green Bay on Thanksgiving morning. And then Steelers minus 1.5 at the Cincinnati Bengals on Sunday, who lost Joe Burrow for the season, R.I.P. King. So he went Dolphins money line over 41 in that matchup. Lions 7.5, Steelers 1.5, and that's at plus 683. Would you like to cover yours before I go into mine?
Yeah. I've got 2 college, 2 NFL.
All right, here we go.
I stuck to Sunday for NFL. I'm taking the Ravens minus 3.5 against the Chargers.
Love that. Love that.
Yeah, 3.5 is so low. And then just to make Bryce happy, I have the Houston Texans plus 1.5 against Jacksonville in Houston. Jacksonville's been pretty shaky lately. If y'all haven't been paying attention,
Except for the last game, they
Yeah,
did
we're not gonna talk
annihilate the
about that.
Titans,
Right.
but
But it's the Titans.
Yeah.
They don't have offense or defense.
True.
And then we got into rivalry week for college football. So I'm taking Oregon minus 13.5 against Oregon State. I think Oregon State's the biggest fraudulent team in college football.
Is there not one that's bigger?
Oh, there's one that's bigger. But Oregon State is, I believe, ranked 13 or something like that.
Yeah.
Which is pretty fraudulent.
Yeah.
And I have Tulane minus 3.5 against
Shout out
UTSA.
Tulane. Let's go, Tulane. Great season again out of the boys.
They have a chance to host Conference USA Championship or American, whatever.
CUSA.
Yeah. For the second year in a row. That's huge.
Yeah, I mean, Willie Fritz is getting it done, and Michael Pratt's up for the same award that JD5 is up for. So, good for them. My bet, like I said, I stuck with the Lions minus 7.5. Took the over in that matchup, Packers versus Lions. Over-under's at 46.5. I think the Lions can score a lot of points. Last week, the Chargers faced the Packers, and I think that matchup ended up about 43. And I think the Lions are better than the Chargers. So that's why I'll take the over on that, if that math adds up. So Lions minus 7.5, over 46.5. And then I stuck on Thanksgiving. So I went 2 Thursday games. 49ers minus 6.5 going into Seattle. 49ers are rolling. They look very good right now. Seattle does not look very good right now. Geno Smith might not even play because he's hurt. Kenneth Walker not playing because he's hurt. So they have no offense. Drew Lock stinks. So I'll trust the 49ers defense to stop a bad offense and then score a bunch of points. So I'll take Niners minus 6.5. But I'll take the under in that matchup at 43.5 because I don't think the Seahawks can hold up their end of the matchup.
I think that's a great.
That's
great.
Lions 7.5, over 46. Niners 6.5, under 43. That parlay comes out to plus 977. What did your parlay come out to?
Plus 1228.
So you've got the highest odds. So we'll see who wins that one.
Yours were solid. I was
appreciate
terrified.
that.
I was terrified of Thursday. I mean, on Thanksgiving is normally blowout city, but I was terrified to touch it because I didn't want to be on the wrong side of the blowout city.
Fair.
But and so instead I went with college football. But everything you said is correct.
Thank you. Wow.
Like the Niners. Yeah, clip it.
T-Rex, clip it.
The Niners definitely in an under game. Definitely gonna win by more than 6.5. And who says who stops the Lions? They made a crazy comeback to beat the Bears.
They were down 13 points with 4.5 minutes. Yeah. And Jared Goff went from throwing 3 picks and looking like the worst quarterback in the league.
I think he had 2 fantasy points for us, and then he ended with 21.
Yeah, I mean, he came out and he was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot I know how to play football again."
Yeah,
and then did it. One more bet before we move into our special topic for the pod that we want to talk about. I went ahead and I placed a Super Bowl winner based on what I saw this weekend. It's a team who I talked about a lot in the preseason that I'm finally confident enough to say I think they're actually going to win the Super Bowl. I I took them as one of my division winners, and that parlay is not going to work out because of some other stuff. But I went ahead.
Seahawks.
I had a $50 bonus bet because of joining the new ESPN bet app. I went ahead. I placed it on the Baltimore Ravens to win the Super Bowl. They're dominant. They're dominant.
If they're playing a good team, which you play good teams in the playoffs, they show up. If they play a bad team, they don't.
I mean, and the thing is their losses, their early losses, they're not the same team anymore. They lost to the Browns recently, but that was that was just a weird game in general. And the Browns are showing that they're a good team. So, even without their quarterback. So they're playing a good team. I think the Ravens, other than some teams in the NFC that I think can make a run at it, and the Chiefs obviously in the AFC, I think they're one of the best 5 teams in football, and they're a team that I trust can make the big plays when it matters. So I went ahead and I placed a bet on them to win the Super Bowl. I just thought I'd throw that out there in case anybody was wondering. But our special topic for the pod, we're going to close out here. Instead of going into what we normally go into, I wanted to talk about the college football playoffs. Because we're getting close to college football, winding down. We'll get into conference championships next weekend. And then they released the new rankings right before the show started. And the top 4 was Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, and Washington. Florida State dropped out because Washington beat a ranked team. So those are the top 4 as of right now. But, outside of those top 4, obviously Florida State, Oregon, Texas, Bama, rounding out the 6 through 8, 5 through 8. So my question to you is, what do you think plays out over the next 2 weeks, and who are your 4 to make the college football playoffs?
So, you get one of the winner of this week's rivalry week game, the big game.
The game.
Yeah, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Ohio State, Michigan.
Yep.
So that's a solidified spot. It's one of those 2. You think otherwise, but I disagree, and I think Washington's got it on lock. I think that they really can't lose to Oregon in the conference championship, but it's a possibility. So one of those 2. I'm predicting Washington. I don't have an opinion about a Big Ten team personally.
Pac-12?
No, Big Ten.
Big Ten?
For the other side.
Oh, Michigan.
I didn't make a prediction. I just said the big.
Yeah. I see what you
mean. The winner of the game.
That's on me.
You're good. So the winner of the game, Washington. It can get real interesting if Bama beats Georgia in the SEC championship game.
That would get very interesting.
It might be the wildest college football playoff of all time if that happens. Because then you have to make a decision between an SEC champion, a one-loss Georgia team, and then the loser of the game.
Yeah.
And a one-loss Texas team if they win out and beat Bama this year. And so that's more of a discussion of who gets that last spot, or the last 2 spots. I personally can't tell you because I don't see the future and don't really have an opinion on anything not LSU. So you're the one with a lot of opinions, sir. So turning the mic over to you.
I do have a lot of opinions. That is true. That is something that happens to me quite a bit. So, I think, did you give an official 4?
No.
And you're not going to?
No.
Because you think there's too much involved.
Winner of the big game.
Uh-huh.
Washington.
Okay.
And if Georgia beats Bama, if Bama beats Georgia, it's complicated.
Mm-hmm.
But if Bama doesn't, Georgia, and then it's still complicated. Do you take
that 4 spot is weird.
Do you take the Big 12 champion?
There's legit,
or
that's the thing about the top 8 teams this year. All 8 can make the playoffs, and you can make an argument for every single one of them.
They all have one loss.
Win or lose. They're all undefeated or 1 loss.
Yeah.
So here's my thing. I think, like you said, winner of Ohio State, Michigan this weekend. They're obviously going to win the Big Ten championship too.
Yeah, they're not losing to Iowa.
They're going to lose to Iowa or
who's having a bad year.
which Iowa's not even a guarantee to make it at this point. It could be Iowa. It could be Nebraska. It could be Wisconsin. Any of those teams suck.
So if you want drama, cheer for the Hurricanes on Saturday.
Sure. I'm taking
Or Cyclones, whatever they're called.
Iowa State Cyclones.
Cyclones.
Yeah, I'm taking whoever wins the big game. That's probably my 1 seed.
Yeah, like it's the only lock. Whoever wins the big game is a lock.
That's my 1 seed. Now I'll go down multiple rabbit holes here because this is something I really wanted to talk about.
I couldn't be certain because Georgia has looked beatable this year. Last year they did not.
But the thing is they've picked it up at the right time. So we'll see where it goes. Pac-12 championship. I think while you're on Washington, I think if it's Washington versus Oregon in the Pac-12 championship, if Oregon wins that game, their 1 loss is to Washington. If Washington wins that game, their 1 loss is to if Washington loses that game, their 1 loss is to Oregon. So I think the winner of that matchup makes it in.
Yeah,
that's
fair.
Whoever wins out of Oregon and Washington,
The
in the
Pac-12
championship,
yeah.
Pac-12 champion makes it in the last year of the Pac-12. They make the college football playoff.
Yeah.
So I'll take the winner of the big game,
The winner
of the Pac-12,
Yeah.
the winner of the SEC. I don't think it matters if it's Bama or Georgia. They're going to make it in. You don't put a 1-loss Bama team out of the playoff if they make the SEC, if they win the SEC championship. And I mean, if Georgia's undefeated, obviously they're going in.
Yeah.
Now the conversation is where do you put that 4th team? There's multiple different paths. You can go Texas if they win out because their only loss is to Oklahoma, and they will have beaten Bama. So that's a great look on their schedule. If Bama makes the playoffs and you leave out Texas, who has the same record as them, you can't do that. Georgia, 1-loss team who was undefeated all season, just lost in the SEC championship. You have the loser of the Pac-12. Now, if it's Oregon, you can definitely leave them out. If it's Washington, another conversation you have to have that's similar to Georgia. And then Florida State. What if they go completely undefeated? Can you leave them out? Can you leave out an ACC champion who went undefeated the entire season? With Jordan Travis going out, I think you can. I don't know if the committee can necessarily say, hey, your quarterback's out, we're not letting you in the playoffs. But also, I think it has to be like a self-awareness type thing where it's like, hey, I know you went undefeated. However, these other teams have had a harder schedule. They've done better. They haven't had close games against Boston College and Clemson and teams like that. So, in my opinion, my 4 in the scenario that I think is going to play out, I'm going to go Michigan as my 1 seed. I'm going to go Oregon as my 2 seed. I'm going to go Bama as my 3 seed. And I'm going to go Texas as my 4 seed.
So if that happened,
Yep.
this will be the first time in CFP history that a Big 12 team and a Pac-12 team
Both were in it.
both were in it.
Yeah. And there also is that outside chance that we're looking at the first time we went to a 4-team playoff and the last time we're going to be in a 4-team playoff could be the same 4 teams with Ohio State, Oregon, Bama, and Florida State. It's a possibility. So I've been seeing that float around social media a lot. I just think it's a really interesting talk because you really don't know what's going to happen.
But it'll be one of the first times that we've seen in a while that it's like true. Like last year, it wasn't all champions, so it felt weird.
Mm-hmm. This time, I think it's going to be all champions.
I like all champions. Like that's what I think the 4-team playoff was made for, is all champions.
I think it should be. I think the one team that may ruin the idea of 4 champions,
Georgia,
is Texas actually, because they might not put in the Big 12 champion. They might just straight up ignore Texas, because they're going to put the Pac-12 champion in, they're going to put the SEC champion in, and they'll probably put in. If they remain undefeated, they might put in Florida State. So do they put in the 1-loss Ohio State or Michigan, depending on who wins that game? Do they put in the 1-loss Georgia team?
I forgot Florida State was undefeated.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's so hard to predict. I think it's really, really fun, and I think this might be one of the most important conference championship weekends we've seen in a really long time, because it's not only people playing upset to get their rivals out of the game, it's to get into the dance.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about this college football playoff, and I think no matter what 4 teams make it, there's a lot of parity where you don't know who's winning the national championship this year. Last year, everybody knew Georgia was winning the Natty. As much as TCU was a fun Cinderella story and Michigan was a powerhouse and this might finally be the year that Ohio State figures it out and whatever else, everybody knew Georgia was going to win the game in the end. And this year, you can't prove that to me. I think Michigan and Ohio State, whoever wins that game is going to be great. Bama's figured it out recently. Florida State's still undefeated. Oregon and Washington have two of the most exciting offenses, while not the best offense because that belongs right here in Baton Rouge. It's a fun time. It's a fun time to be a college football fan, so I'm excited to see where it goes, and we'll obviously keep everybody updated.
Let's get it.
All right. Word. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. It was a little bit of a longer episode today. Didn't expect that, but hey, we went on our soapbox during LSU. We talked about our Pels, and we got some cool college football playoff talk in there, too. So happy to see what went there. We'll check on our bets, obviously. I think I'm going to win. I think I had one of my best bets of all time.
It's very good.
Parlays this weekend. So we'll see how that goes. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, _Dome Pod. Make sure to follow at BNTheKnow, KNEAUX, the only way to spell it. Follow everybody over there. Follow off the _Dome Pod on Twitter. Make sure to get us on Facebook as well. You can always go back and watch these on YouTube, or you can listen in on Spotify. Just look up Off the Dome Sports Podcast. It's the same logo you see on every one of our platforms. You'll recognize it. Make sure to like, subscribe,
and we
comment.
are going to start posting our videos to YouTube, not just the live stream.
Not just the live stream. So it's easier to find. Should help us out in the algorithm, and also will be a little bit easier access. So, and we may end up getting into the shorts game and posting different videos, shorter videos here and there.
Just depends on the time.
Depends on the time.
We do have plans for making separate little videos.
We do have plans, but those will be starting after the craziness that is the football season.
Yeah, closer to what's that? That time.
You know what it is. But we're excited about the stuff we're doing over here. We're having fun. Next week will be a Monday episode, so make sure to tune in Monday at 6 p.m. next Monday.
Prior to Monday Night Football. That will be our 91st episode, so we're sneaking in on 100, getting very close to 100 episodes. Maybe we'll do something fun for the 100th episode, see who we can get in, see what we can do, because we are getting close to 100 episodes of OTD, so we'll do something fun for that. But that's what we're looking like in the future. This is what we look like in the present, and hopefully we'll see you down the line. I am Redfish. And I'm Rebo Hustle.
And we will see you next time.